Everything is moving. Bitcoin, altcoins, narratives, and then there's XRP, stalling, dropping, lagging behind. Why does XRP feel different when it crashes? Why do so many holders sell right here? And what are they missing? Let's dive in. When everything else moves and XRP doesn't, frustration builds fast. It feels like missing out while doing everything right. That gap creates reverse FOMO, not fear of missing gains, but fear of having chosen wrong. Behavioral finance shows this moment amplifies regret aversion, pushing people to act just to escape discomfort. Most selling doesn't happen after bad news. It happens after patience runs out. Data across markets shows retail capitulation appears during boredom and underperformance, not information shocks. Nothing changes fundamentally, but emotionally, everything collapses. That's why selling often feels logical in the moment, even when nothing new actually happened. Price reflects short-term pressure, not long-term structure. It measures who is trading today, not what a network is becoming. Markets constantly disconnect price from underlying value, especially for infrastructure assets. That's why sharp conclusions based on temporary price weakness are often wrong. Price speaks loudly, but it rarely tells the full story on its own. XRP wasn't built to generate constant excitement. It was built for utility, payments, liquidity, and infrastructure. That kind of value grows quietly. No hype cycles, no viral moments. Compared to speculative assets, XRP attracts fewer short-term traders, which means price reacts slower. Silence here isn't weakness. It's a design feature. The biggest mistakes aren't made during crashes or rallies. They're made in flat markets. When nothing happens, impatience grows, confidence erodes. People rewrite their own thesis out of boredom. History shows sideways phases. Test discipline more than volatility ever could. That's where long-term outcomes quietly get decided. Institutional players don't panic over short-term price weakness. They adjust exposure based on structure, liquidity, and timing. When selling spikes during XRP downturns, it's usually retail repositioning, not long-term capital exiting. Smart money moves quietly, often during low attention periods, while emotional selling happens loudly and publicly. For most retail holders, the real enemy isn't price, it's time. Delayed movement feels like stagnation. Weeks feel like months. Months feel like failure. Data shows average retail holding periods shrink during low volatility phases, not because risk increases, but because mental fatigue sets in. Selling becomes a way to end waiting, not manage risk. Selling during a crash is rarely a strategic decision. It's emotional relief. When uncertainty lasts too long, the brain seeks closure. Hitting sell feels like regaining control, even if the outcome is worse. Psychology shows people prioritize ending discomfort over optimizing results, especially under prolonged financial stress. Historically, XRP's strongest developments happened during periods of disinterest, when narratives turned negative, when attention disappeared. Between 2017, 2020, and 2022, XRP spent long stretches ignored or criticized, not celebrated. Those phases didn't signal failure. They reflected how infrastructure assets evolve quietly before recognition ever catches up. Silence in markets feels dangerous, but it isn't. Financial infrastructure doesn't grow through hype. It grows through integration, testing, and regulation. The absence of noise often means progress is happening off-camera. Confusing silence with weakness leads to premature conclusions and premature exits, especially for assets built for systems, not speculation. History shows real value rarely forms during a peak attention. It forms when interest fades. The internet, cloud computing, payment rails, none were built under constant excitement. They matured slowly while public attention moved elsewhere. XRP follows the same pattern. What looks boring on the surface is often where long-term foundations are laid. Markets don't need villains. They don't need coordination. Volatility alone is enough to trigger emotional reactions. When prices fall, uncertainty increases, and human behavior does the rest. Selling pressure emerges naturally from fear, impatience, and misaligned expectations. No manipulation is required for people to exit at the worst possible moment. Panic selling isn't just emotional, it serves a function. Markets require liquidity to operate. That liquidity often comes from participants who exit under pressure. When holders sell from fear, they provide opportunities for structured capital to enter efficiently. This isn't judgment. It's how markets transfer risk from impatience to conviction. Every market needs someone willing to exit early and someone willing to stay. Risk doesn't disappear. It moves. Those who sell during stress offload uncertainty. Those who remain accept it. This transfer is constant, mechanical, and emotion-driven. Understanding this process matters more than predicting price because it explains why outcomes repeat every cycle. Price drops don't kill networks. Assets that survive multiple cycles almost always experience deep drawdowns along the way. XRP is no exception. Crashes reflect participation shifts, not extinction events. Mistaking volatility for failure leads people to abandon assets that are still functioning exactly as designed, quietly, steadily, and without drama. A falling price often triggers self-doubt. People don't question the market, they question themselves. After drawdowns, confidence erodes faster than conviction. That psychological shift is dangerous because it reframes volatility as a personal mistake instead of a normal market phase. Doubt pushes people to act emotionally, not rationally. Markets don't operate on deadlines. Urgency is a feeling, not a signal. Crashes often create the illusion that decisions must be made immediately. In reality, adoption and valuation unfold over years, not moments. Believing every downturn is a final chance forces rush choices in environments designed to reward patience. Price reacts instantly. Structure doesn't. During crashes, price dominates attention because it's visible and emotional. But it's also the noisiest signal. Liquidity, usage, development, and integration move quietly underneath. Fixating on price alone amplifies stress while hiding the metrics that actually evolve during downturns. Momentum fades quickly. Structure lasts. Short-term moves attract attention, but infrastructure determines survival. Assets built on usage, rails, and integration don't rely on constant excitement. They progress through adoption layers that outlive hype cycles. That's why structure matters most when momentum disappears. Waiting isn't passive, it's intentional. Patience means understanding cycles, managing exposure, and resisting emotional impulses. It's a behavior, not a lack of action. Markets reward those who align decisions with time frames, not those who react fastest. During crashes, patience becomes an active filter against costly mistakes. Participation drops long before cycles resolve. Retail interest fades during prolonged uncertainty, not during peaks. Fatigue replaces fear, and attention moves elsewhere. That's why many exits happen just before conditions change. Not because fundamentals shift, but because endurance runs out before the cycle completes. Crashes don't test what you believe about technology. They test how you respond to discomfort. XRP downturns expose emotional thresholds, not technical failures. They reveal whether decisions are guided by structure or stress. Understanding this distinction changes how price movements are interpreted and acted upon. The most consistent pattern isn't crashes, it's early exits. Across cycles, the same behavior repeats, impatience peaks before resolution. People sell to escape uncertainty, not because clarity arrives. This pattern explains why outcomes differ. Not information, not intelligence, but timing driven by emotion. XRP crashes don't demand action. They demand understanding. They expose how markets move capital from impatience to structure. Price tests your emotions, not outcomes. If you want to explore the world of crypto, don't chase miracles. Educate yourself, because in this world, a simple click can change a life. But only knowledge can protect your future.